going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again to give you guys another Kamen Rider Saber review. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 28. Unfortunately, this week was a clip show episode, and I kind of wish 2 episodes ago, when I was reviewing, I believe, episode 26, I gave my thoughts on the series as a whole. I don't know why I felt like doing it with that episode. I think it was just because I was so impressed by it, and it really just changed my whole perspective of the entire series after that, and I really felt like getting that all off my chest at the time. I'm kind of regretting that now, only because I feel like this episode is when I should have done it. I should have waited until we had a clip show type episode before recapping my thoughts on the series as a whole so far. But it's a bit too late now. It's not like I have a time travel app on my phone that I can use to go back and prevent myself from giving this recap. So what I'm going to do is just go over the very few plot points that there were in this episode. I'm going to break them down to the best of my abilities, and I should probably point out that the clip show portions of this episode are really mostly just in the first half. Like, there's definitely some clip show elements that take place after that, but for the majority of it is all within the first half of the episode. But with that all being said, I guess the first major plot point that happens is that Ren decides to leave the Sword of Logos because he wants to fight alongside with Kento, which of course goes about as well as you would imagine. I also found it really funny, like you can see in this photo here, the South Pole base looks a lot different, and I know it's all because of the lighting. For some reason they didn't really bother to give it the same consistent lighting that the South Pole base has always had. Something I just thought was kind of funny. I assume because this was a clip show episode, they were probably rushing every scene, or they just didn't really put as much effort into the production for it, if I had to guess, but I'm not 100% sure why that is. We then have another kind of plot relevant episode, although not really, only because this has already been established within the show, and yet they act like this is something new, where Toma is currently working on a book, or sorry, specifically the way the scene plays out is that Mei asks Toma if he would be interested in writing a sequel to his book, which his publicist was a really big fan of, and she was hoping that Toma would be interested in working on another one. And Toma says yes, he will definitely work on it, and it'll be about the adventures of himself as a Kamen Rider, which I thought was already established. Now, maybe what they were confirming in this is that he's still working on that book, and that, you know, it wasn't originally meant to be a sequel, but now it is going to be a sequel to his previous book, I guess. I'm not 100% sure, but to me it was weird because they treated this like it was all something new, even though I swear this had already been established in the show previously, but, you know, whatever. What is cool, though, is that we do get a new villain reveal. We do know that he's a Kamen Rider, but we haven't seen his new Kamen Rider form yet. We also do get a little more confirmation on what their overall plan was with Toma, how they purposely separated him from the other riders, hoping that it would make Toma a lot stronger, and it worked. My assumption is they want Toma to get stronger so that way they can steal his power, and they need to do this fast because now Toma is becoming so powerful that he's actually becoming he's actually becoming a threat to their cause. So that gets brought up that they need to stop Toma ASAP. Ren eventually does catch up to Kento, but of course Kento has no interest in fighting alongside with Ren, so instead the two of them of course battle it out, and we get a scene where Kento, as Kamen Rider Caliber, deactivates one of his swords, or specifically seals one of his swords. But because Kento is you know, he uses 2 blades, as you can see here in this image here. I guess since he uses 2 blades, sealing one of them isn't enough to get rid of his Kamen Rider form altogether, so he's still able to transform. But if I had to guess, with it being 2 blades, maybe he's only able to use half of his power, or maybe the sword that Caliber sealed is just useless now. I'm not 100% sure on how that's going to work going forward, but I'm definitely really curious to see. And one thing I do have to give a quick shout out to here is that even though I don't like Ren's character that much, I love his actor, especially like during this scene in particular. You know, it's kind of similar to the way Daichi was breaking down when he lost his sword, but for Ren, it's like a whole nother layer for him, because it's not only the fact that he loses one of his swords, but it's the fact that it was Kento, a guy that he always looked up to as like a bigger brother in a lot of ways. He was the one to steal his sword, and you could see that layer of just like betrayal in his emotions, and it's just absolutely amazing in this scene. Really adds a lot to it. We then, of course, get Toma, who comes into the fight, and it's a really cool fight, although it doesn't last very long. Very well choreographed. And then, I guess the last thing to go over in this episode is that we get the implication that the reason Kento's father betrayed all the other writers might have been the same reason Kento is currently betraying the writers. It is possible that he had the exact same vision that Kento had. Now, whether or not this vision will come true or not is yet to be seen, but it is kind of clear that, while the way they went about their actions was wrong, their intentions were to protect the world. But intention and actual execution are very different things. In other words, there's the saying that the path to hell is led with good intention, or something like that. I probably completely screwed up that quote. And I guess in a lot of ways that is the case with Kento's dad, and now with Kento following in his dad's footsteps. Overall, it's not that it was a bad clip show. It's just that I'm not a fan of clip show episodes in general. Sometimes I don't mind them if they're done in a very creative way, and I totally get why they need to be a thing. It does help them for, when you're able to be cheap in one episode, it means you're able to spend so much more money in the next episode. So I totally get the purpose of clip shows. I'm just not a fan of them unless they have a creative twist to them. Like I did really enjoy in Beast Morphers recently, when they had their clip show episode that involved what was it? I believe like using past Ranger villains as the villains tried to decide which villain to bring back. I liked that, but for the most part, just in general with clip shows, I'm just usually not a big fan. But that's just me, honestly. Like, as far as clip shows go, this was about average, and as far as Kamen Rider Saber, this was definitely one of the lower episodes to my opinion. But guys, of course, at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think, so definitely let me know in the comments below if you guys like the clip show episodes, I guess, and if you guys thought this episode wasn't that bad for a clip show, I guess, let me know.